Hey, what's up, guys? How's everybody doing? Pull up the Instagram feed. All right, welcome everyone. It is Thursday, time for another episode of Semen Retention Talk. It's just a live, share some things. I do a Q&A and everything, so I'm going to mostly be answering questions today, but we've been giving you guys some updates as well. So how's everyone doing? Hope you guys are doing well. I'm Johnathan White. I'm here to help you master your sexual energy so you can magnetize your ideal life. And man, what a time. It's an exciting time. Lots of things changing, transforming. In the external, it can look like the world's in chaos, but this is really, it's an exciting time for us to let go of the past and create the reality we truly want, right? And it's like all these things have to come to the surface that we're dealing with as a collective so that we can, address them and see the truth and everything, right? So anyways, today I'm going to be mostly doing a Q&A session. And before I get into that, though, I just want to talk about how important it is in this time to really be cultivating yourself, cultivating your energy, cultivating your thoughts, your intentions, right? It's like, what are you creating in your life right now? What are you focusing on right now? Your focal point is always determining what is being manifested in your life. When you're focused on fear, when you're focused on, fearful information, which is kind of being forced down a lot of our throats right now, right? Then that's what you create. You start to act out of that fear that's being broadcast to you, and then you start to resonate in that pattern of fear and lack, and you create more of that. But this is really the time to start focusing on what excites you, what inspires you, what motivates you. When you're in that vibration of love, of creativity, of joy and purpose, that's when the magic happens. That's when you truly create a life worth living, basically, right? And when you're creating out of that, you will always bring more of these higher vibrational things into your life, right? So again, your focal point is everything right now. So, get off the mass media fear porn, turn off the TV, spend some time in nature, tune into your heart and say, what do I really want to see in my life? What do I want to see unfold in the world around me? And start to hold that feeling, start to hold that awareness, that intention, and become that which you wish to see, right? So again, this is the time when our thoughts, our feelings, our words, and our actions are going to have more of an impact than ever. So keep your vibes high and stay woke, guys. Let's see what else. And sexual energy, of course, is a massive part of this as well. It's always one of the most powerful forces that we have available to work with 24/7, right? But for most people, this is completely unconscious. For most people, sexuality and sexual energy is something that controls them. It's an impulse. It's an itch that they need to scratch. And most people live their whole lives in this pattern without ever tapping into that massive power of potential that your sexual energy really has. Again, when you think about it, your sexual energy, it's the power to reproduce yourself, to recreate yourself, to create something new. It's the power to amplify, to grow, to expand, right? So when you're tuning into that consciously, then that's when you really have the power, basically. That's when you have the power to create. You have the power to keep yourself healthy, vibrant, radiant, right? And again, it really comes down to having a daily practice. I encourage you guys more than ever to have some sort of daily practice for yourself, some sort of routine that charges you up, right? Whether that's, going to the gym, working out, whether that's meditating every day, whether that's doing Qigong. Of course, I highly encourage you to work with your subtle energy, work with your internal energy, cultivate your chi, right? Because that's what's really going to give you the power to create, the power to become more of who you are, right? And when you're working with your sexual energy on top of that, you become unstoppable. So anyways, I'm going to get into answering questions. I've had some questions sent in to me, so let me pull them up here. Let's see here. So feel free to send in your questions. All right. What's my advice? This was sent in from Instagram. What's my advice for a good and healthy morning routine? That's a good question. How you begin your day, your morning routine sets the stage for your whole day. A lot of people reach over and pick up their phone, start browsing through social media, start checking your emails. If you do that, then you're starting your day in a very scattered state, a state of draining. These things tend to pull your energy away from you. So I do not recommend getting on your phone first thing in the morning. I personally keep my phone off for about the first 3 hours or more that I'm awake. Very important to me. I think it's good to, when you first get up, do something that gets you in the flow, makes you feel good for the day. I like to take, I get up and take a shower. I might take a cold shower. Cold showers are good. They get you, pumped for the day. I like to do some practice in the morning. I like to do qigong. I like to do meditation, cultivate qi, right? Maybe go for a walk in nature. So, as far as morning routines, it's good to move your body. It's good to go within, do some meditation, do some breath work, oxygenate yourself for the day, do some qi exercises, get yourself energized for the day, whatever that is. Maybe you like to read a book or, something motivational, but basically your morning, the first thing you do in the day should be something to really like nourish yourself and charge yourself up for the day that's to come. So when you start the day in that focused, productive, in the zone sort of activity, then your whole day is going to be much more fluid versus getting on your phone first thing in the morning, scrolling through social media and already being scattered for the rest of the day, basically. Okay, any tips? Here's another question from Instagram. Any tips for permanent penis enlargement, herbs, exercises, etc.? So penis enlargement, there's a lot of information, misinformation on this. It is possible to do exercises to grow a bigger penis, basically, but it really takes commitment. There's certain routines of like stretching exercises and things like that. It's very individual. Like certain guys have a much easier time increasing their penis size than others, and again, it really takes like some serious commitment. Like you have to spend some serious training sessions, basically like doing these exercises to stretch out your penis and things like this. They make devices that stretch it for you. And, as far as foods and things like that, obviously foods that boost your testosterone, foods that build your vital essence, your jing, are going to help as well. So hopefully that helps. Okay, what is my take on what's my take on consensual non-monogamy and threesomes? Will it be detrimental to our spiritual and well-being, even when engaged with love and consent? So basically the question is, will having multiple partners be detrimental to my spiritual and well-being? So here's the thing. Nothing's inherently right or wrong, right? So for me, it's whatever brings you joy, harmony, and balance, that's fine for you. The thing to understand, though, about being polyamorous or having multiple partners, for me, it's not an issue of morality, but it's more of energetics. You understand that when you have sex with someone, you are connecting with them, you're resonating with them on one of the deepest levels that you can. You're really, really opening yourself up to this person and exchanging information on levels that most of us are completely unconscious of, right? So when you have sex with someone, you're absorbing a lot of their patterns. You're absorbing their emotions. You're absorbing their karma. You might be absorbing their ancestral issues. Like you're really digging deep into, their deep subconscious and taking these patterns on yourself, right? So this is where issues can arise, is that if you have multiple partners, you're dealing with all of their emotions and all of their baggage, so to speak, right? And it can become difficult to basically keep yourself clear. Like all of a sudden you have all this stuff. You're like, where's this coming from? This isn't mine, because you're engaging with all these different people without being aware. So you can be creating a lot more psychic work for yourself, I would say. But that's really the thing to be aware of. If you want to have multiple partners, again, for me, it's whatever works for you. I don't see anything as really right or wrong, but it's important to be aware of that dynamic and being very selective of who you choose to connect with, basically. Okay, here's a question. Should I completely stop jacking off or keep it once a week or a bare minimum? The issue here for men, it's not masturbation. Masturbation is not inherently a problem. The problem is this excessive ejaculation. So if for you masturbation only means ejaculation, then yeah, you want to keep that to a minimum. But when you learn to have orgasms without ejaculating, and you learn to harness that sexual arousal, hold it in your body, and cultivate that to charge yourself up basically without ejaculating, that's a whole different story. You can do that, pretty much as you want, and you won't lose energy, because that's what sexual kung fu is about. I had a bad wet dream this morning. Is this a relapse? I haven't been watching porn. Sometimes wet dreams are inevitable. Don't get too obsessed over it. It is an ejaculation, but some guys can't go more than a certain period of time without having wet dreams. So don't worry about it. Don't obsess over it. How would manipulating sexual energy aid my mental health? I have a high but stable dark triad. I'm not exactly what you mean by dark triad, but sexual energy, I would say that learning to work with it harmoniously can improve your mental health. Obviously I'm not a doctor, I'm not a therapist, but in my opinion, some of the most powerful and healing work you can do is evolving your experience of sexuality and having, a deeply healing experience of sexual energy. Now, it's not so much just from manipulating sexual energy so much as it is learning to connect and open yourself to deeper levels to both yourself and your partner, learning to connect the quality of, the genitals, right? The sexual center, that sexual desire, being able to link that with love, connect that with the energy of the earth, connect that with the energy of the cosmos. So it's internal. Using that sexual energy. Am I losing my YouTube? 1 second here. All right. So it's about, again, using that sexual energy as a catalyst for your growth, using that as a catalyst to bring yourself into harmony and balance. That's really what, sexual kung fu and Taoist internal alchemy is about. It's kind of more advanced topic, but I don't know if hopefully that helps with your question. For me personally, learning to work harmoniously with my sexual energy instead of just depleting it, watching porn, jerking off to porn, things like that, was one of the best things that I could have done for my mental health. Everything improved basically for me. So a wet dream, no matter how much semen is released, does not affect my streak. Here's the thing, don't get overly obsessed about like counting days and things like that. The only important thing is, how do you feel? Do you feel like you lost something? Then you probably did. Do you feel no different? Then you didn't lose anything. Don't obsess over about having a number that you can tell people you went this many days without ejaculating. That just feeds your ego. Again, for me, it's about harmony and balance. I'm not doing this because I want to tell people, oh, I can go 100 days without ejaculating. It's not about that. It's about, how do you feel? If you feel like you lost something, you probably did. Because of course, a wet dream is an ejaculation, you lose semen, but sometimes it's just like your body releasing excess fluid. So it's not a big deal. So just learn to pay attention to how you feel instead of obsessing mentally over, what logically it might be. Okay, here's a kind of statement of question. I learned the difference between real Kundalini and excess Yang Qi in the head. I can firmly say what I had was excess Yang Qi. So what is real Kundalini and how is it activated? So the true Kundalini experience. So again, Kundalini experiences are often mistaken, or I should say that they're. Okay, let me start over here. A true Kundalini experience is different than what a lot of people think is a Kundalini experience, right? For most people, it's simply an excess of this fire chi rising up the spine, rising up the back channel and up into the head, which causes this, it does cause kind of an altered state, this expansiveness, this ungroundedness. You might hallucinate, you might hear voices. Usually there's a lot of like emotional instability, insomnia, things like that. So this is just Yang Qi, this rising fire chi up the back channel, the spinal channel up, getting stuck up in the crown of the head because the front channel is blocked. It can't sink back down, right, to balance out. This is different from an actual Kundalini experience. An actual Kundalini experience is I believe in it, from my experience, it's an opening of the core channel, like this powerful opening of the central channel, the sushumna, right? And it's a life-changing experience. It's time is altered, space is altered. You're connected with higher dimensions. It's hard to put into words, but it's a very, very powerful transformative experience, right? And if you have it, you'll know it, right? And as far as how to experience it, this is going to vary. There's not really like one specific technique. Like if you do this, you will have a Kundalini experience. For some people, it happens spontaneously. Obviously doing like yoga, doing meditation forms can increase the likelihood of this happening, but it really comes down to whether or not it's going to happen for you, right? Some people awaken it through taking psychedelic drugs and things like this. So there's a lot of ways that it can happen, but for me, working with internal energy, doing qigong, doing meditation, internal alchemy practices has led to a much more stable awakening of higher realms of consciousness than, like, for example, taking ayahuasca, taking DMT, taking magic mushrooms, because these things are very chaotic. They're uncontrolled. You're having this experience from an external source, so you can't really, control it. It's not really coming from within you. It's coming from this external thing. So that's why I think that doing meditation, doing yoga, doing qigong is really the highest path of awakening your true spiritual nature. I know that was kind of a tangent there. Hopefully that's helpful. How do I feel about cannabis? I feel like someone asks this every time. That's all right. That's all right. So cannabis, marijuana, has its pros and it has its cons. I will say in general, if there's anything that you're doing every single day, like any sort of psychoactive substance, then it's probably an addictive pattern and it's a detriment to you, unless you have like, some chronic condition that you're relying on it for pain relief or something like that. But most people just having it to get high, smoking weed, doing it every day is not serving you. Doing it regularly is probably not serving you. However, I will say that it has its benefits. For example, it changes the flow of your energy. It really puts you in a different perspective. That's why people enjoy doing it. It completely shifts you. You get elevated. You see things differently. You feel more open to things. You might get all these new ideas. So it can be beneficial in that way. It can kind of help you break through some stagnant patterns or get a clear picture of things, or a different, experience of your body and how your mind work, right? But again, the problem is when it becomes a reliance. When you're doing it every day, it depletes your energy. The thing with psychoactive substances, any sort of drug, any sort of thing that gets you high, it's doing this by burning up your gene, your physical essence. That's why you feel a bit out of it the next day. There's kind of a come down, and it takes you a bit to recover. It has negative impacts on your hormones, your mental clarity, and things like that. So, you have to understand that it's a trade-off when you take any of these substances. And, is it right or wrong for you? Only you can say that, right? So whatever makes you feel harmonious and balanced is good. But just ask yourself, is it an addictive pattern? Are you relying on it as a crutch, or is it truly serving your evolution? Okay, I'm just going through some questions here. All right, here's an interesting question. Do I feel that with all the knowledge and wisdom I have, that there's something missing, like there's something much bigger than us going on here that we yearn to connect with? Well, here in the third dimensional world, planet Earth right now, we're definitely in a certain limitation, right? We're in these very conditioned. Our perceptions of the world, our perceptions of reality, there's a lot of filters on our perceptions of what's truly happening. Most of us as children are very, very open. We're very open to things happening in the other realms. We're open to other dimensions, the astral realm and things like this. You probably remember as a kid having all these mystical experiences, right? But the adults kind of beat us out of it. They're like, no, there's no, imaginary person in your closet. These imaginary friends are not real. We get very conditioned to this very contracted state of our view of reality, right? It gets kind of beat out of us again. So really, for me, a lot of the work, and I think we came here for a purpose, right? We came here to experience this sort of limited bodies, in the physical realm. It's kind of like you're playing a video game, right? And you choose a character with all these limitations because it's kind of a challenge and it's fun, right? That's kind of how I view our reality on Earth right now. But so a lot of the work in cultivating spirituality, spiritual growth, evolution is opening back up yourself to the true nature of reality, releasing these filters we put on so we can see the world with fresh eyes, so we can see beyond the conditioning that's put upon us, so that we can reconnect with the subtle realms, because we have all of this potential in our bodies. Our DNA, a very, very small portion of our DNA is actually activated. The DNA is like it's our antenna. It's how we interact with the world around us. Everything's an illusion, right? Everything is just vibrations. And our sensory organs are putting all this information together and putting it into images that we're seeing, right? So everything's an illusion. We're living in a holographic reality. Even the CIA confirmed this, right? That we live in basically an illusion, a matrix. We're kind of going down the rabbit hole with, but I will say that we're opening up to a time when we're remembering our true potential as humans. Our DNA is starting to activate. That's why so much is transforming so quickly right now. What's happened in the past few years, the past decade, so much growth is happening. And I think that's also why there's so much, we could say, distraction to try to keep us in fear, because those who've been in power for hundreds of thousands of years are seeing that humans are starting to wake up and remember their Jedi-like powers. And this frightens those in power. So they're putting all this, distractions, fear, porn, to keep us in a low vibrational state, but it's not working. So I know here we go on another tangent, but yes, there's much more to life. There's much more to the universe. And that's why I encourage you to cultivate your energy, learn to meditate, step back from society a little bit and learn to be within yourself, to be in stillness, to be within nature, read the wisdom traditions, read the esoteric texts of the ancient past. A lot of knowledge is available to us right now. So anyways, let's bring it back to Earth now. Is it okay to edge during semen retention? Yes, if you do it in the right way. So edging is, you're stimulating yourself sexually, masturbating, coming close to the point of ejaculating, but not ejaculating. If you're doing this without any energetic skill and you're just building out all this arousal in your genitals and not doing anything with it, then you're going to have blue balls. Your energy is going to be stuck, and you're going to be a loaded gun, like a pressure cooker down there, right? That's not going to be terribly beneficial for most people. But when you're using the sexual kung fu techniques to draw the arousal out of your genitals, move it through the rest of your body, to have full body orgasms, you capture that energy, you move it, you bring it to completion, right? You transmute that sexual arousal. That's very beneficial. So again, it's all about how you're doing it. What do I recommend about semen retention for beginners? How should I start for my first time? It's important to, there's a lot to this, right? I will say that with semen retention, it's important not to get focused on, I need to never ejaculate. That's what I'm doing. It's more important to focus on, I want to transmit my sexual energy. I want to balance that. I want to use it for greater things than just, ejaculation, right? Because when you're only focused on stopping ejaculation, stopping something, holding something within you, you get into this pattern of contraction. You get obsessed about counting days, your ego gets fed off of it. It's extremely important, if you're going to semen retention, that you're doing practices to keep your energy in your body flowing, keep your sexual energy flowing like a water. It's like a river, right? It needs to flow, it needs to move. If it gets stagnant, it starts to grow nasty things. This is what happens to a lot of guys who are trying semen retention and nofap, is they just stop ejaculating. They don't really do anything differently. All this sexual energy builds up, and it's more than they can really handle and digest, right? And do something with. And they turn into angry, irritable maniacs, right? So as far as beginning semen retention, start with like 7 days. If you've never gone more than 1 day, then start with 4 days, right? Just notice how you feel. Like, okay, I highly recommend that you also practice Qigong, meditation, some sort of energy work to keep that energy flowing. It will make it a lot more pleasant. It's all about balance. If you find yourself excessively angry, excessively irritable on semen retention, you're doing something wrong. Your energy is stagnant. I'm 15. How can I bring energy up? Follow my microcosmic orbit meditation on YouTube. Follow my testicle breathing video. Which brings us to this question. What are the benefits of testicle breathing? This is the foundational exercise for basically transmuting sexual energy. Testicle energy is a practice where you, first of all, work with the unaroused sexual energy. You breathe into the genitals, you activate the sexual energy, and then you move it through the body. Typically, we work with the microcosmic orbit, the main channel, up the back of the body, down the front of the body, this loop. By drawing that sexual energy through it with testicle breathing, you're moving some of that gene, some of that sexual essence out of your genitals and through the rest of your body. Again, as I mentioned, the potential negative side effects of semen retention are stagnation, too much energy blocked in your genitals that can't be expressed properly. Testicle breathing is the remedy for this. You're keeping the energy moving and flowing. And as that raw sexual energy moves through your body, as it moves through the orbit, it's transmuted, it's refined into something more usable. The orbit connects with all of the major glands, all of the organs of the body. So by moving this sexual energy through it, you're nourishing your glands with all these hormones, that fresh gene. It keeps you young, keeps you youthful. It nourishes your brain with that fresh gene chi. So there's a lot of benefits to sexual testicle breathing. It also prevents blue balls, and it's a foundation for learning to have non-ejaculatory orgasms, because you start to create this upward flow in your sexual energy instead of only expressing it exploding out your penis like most men do. Why isn't semen retention promoted in the health industry with all its health benefits? Doctors blindly tell us masturbation is healthy. Well, unfortunately, we have a very backwards health system. Back in, I think it was like the 20s or 30s, I made a video recently on Nikola Tesla, how a lot of basically miracle cures, free energy, all this stuff was developed, 100 years ago. We would easily have complete free energy. The cures for all diseases, everything. It's been invented, but unfortunately, the people in power, they wouldn't make money from it, right? They're not going to make money from free energy and from everyone being cured of chronic illnesses. So they created a bill here in the U.S. I forget what it was called. I think it was Rockefeller or Carnegie that created this bill. Basically, any doctors who practice things other than basically prescribing prescription drugs, any doctors who do any other sort of practices can lose their medical licenses, right? So all these natural remedies were, impossible for doctors to prescribe, right? So anyways, there's a lot of control systems in this world. And so, we could say that's one reason semen retention is not promoted. Multi-orgasmic man, my 6-week course launches again in January. So make sure you're on the waiting list. You can go to the link to my multi-orgasmic man course, sign up for the waiting list. You'll be one of the first to know when registration opens in January. Is testicle breathing a practice that can be done during sex to draw the sexual energy upwards? Yes, you can use it to do that. It takes a bit more training, but that is kind of a foundational practice for moving around sexual energy eventually. What exactly do you mean by clearing the negative emotions in our body and getting rid of the old patterns when I talk about this in my videos? So emotions, thoughts, feelings, they're expressions of energy, they're vibrations, and they're expressed in our bodies, right? In the West, we tend to think about everything being in our head, but it's our entire body's generating this, right? In Chinese medicine, the 5 major organs, the spleen, the stomach, the kidneys, the lungs, the heart, are considered to be aspects of our consciousness, known as the 5 Shen. And they all have a certain personality to them, right? And they also express the different emotions. So when you've had a really, really intense emotional experience, maybe like a trauma, a difficult breakup, the death of a loved one, if you feel something more difficult and you can't really process it, typically what happens is the body says, okay, we can't really deal with this right now. We can't process it and bring it to a completion. We're just going to store it, in the closet, so to speak, and deal with it later. Most people have a lot of stuff stored in their closet, right? All these negative emotions, these traumas, they haven't really dealt with, they haven't processed them. They're literally inside their body, in your energy field. There's a lot of this old information. These things become blockages, okay? The body is a matrix of flowing energy, information, right? Chi, which crystallizes into the physical realm, and we have this illusion of this solid physical body, but our bodies are 99.9 empty space, 99.9% empty space, right? So everything's energy. So we're holding all these patterns, these old energy patterns in our body, and it takes tension, it takes contraction to hold these things in place. So it starts to create these blockages in our energy flow, these energy channels, these rivers of energy flowing through our body. When they're open and fluid, we feel happy, healthy, energetic. Like when we were children, our energy channels were wide open. That's why we felt so inspired, excited, and playful about life. As we age and we hold on to all these old negative emotions, they develop these contracted patterns in our body, so our energy can no longer flow smoothly. So we start to feel fatigued, exhausted. This is how diseases arise. This is one of the basic theories of a lot of Oriental, Asian medicine. So that's why it's extremely important to clear out these old emotional traumas, these old emotional patterns. It's important for you to be open and fluid. And also because in regards to sexual cultivation, sexual energy is an amplifier. It's also like psychic superglue. It bonds things together. If you have all these unconscious patterns in your body and you start moving sexual energy through your body, it can bond to those patterns and amplify them, right? So it's not really a desirable scenario. That's why it's extremely important before doing sexual cultivation to do work to clear out your old negative emotions and to open up the energy channels. That's exactly how I structure my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man, is we start with clearing out the old patterns, clearing out blockages, and then developing a safe pathway of harmonious energy flow to move sexual energy through. It's the most effective way to do it. People who've gone through my course have tremendous transformational experiences because this foundational work is extremely important, and not a lot of people teach it, unfortunately. So that's what that's all about. When can I progress from lower Dantian exercise to microcosmic orbit exercise? I mean, really whenever you want, but once you want to at least have a tangible lower Dantian space. You feel the lower Dantian when you built it, right? You feel that heat, that bioelectrical kind of pulsation, that hydraulic fluid feeling down there. When you know you have the Dantian, then you can start to work with the microcosmic orbit because you've actually built your battery, so to speak, so you can start to move that through your body. Okay, what other practices, foods, or things can you incorporate into your life to boost the effects of semen retention? It's good questions. For me, semen retention is great, but it's only one aspect of my life. It's only one aspect of everything that helps me to stay healthy and balanced. It's not all just semen retention, right? To improve, I'm guessing the benefits that you want to improve are things like increased confidence, increased energy, focus, mood. For me, doing internal energy work, doing qigong, doing meditation is essential. It's almost like a foundation for semen retention because it amplifies the benefits of semen retention. You don't have the sexual frustration and stagnant sexual energy that you would otherwise have And so it really amplifies everything. Staying grounded as well, doing grounding qigong practices so you wire yourself into the earth. The earth is a very stable container of powerful energy. The earth's a massive, creative force. When you ground into the earth, wire your energy body into the earth, you have this stable ground to hold a lot more energy without overheating, right? Most people are very ungrounded. They're disconnected from the earth. So when you ground into the earth, you can hold much higher levels of energy in a stable way. And basically, especially as men, our sexual energy is very volatile. It's very fiery. So by mixing the earth's cool, stable energy with your sexual energy, it cools it down, makes it a lot more manageable. So enhancements for qigong, or enhancements for semen retention, are doing qigong, meditating, living a productive life, living with purpose, artistic pursuits. Having a creative outlet is very important. Like maybe being a musician, an artist, whatever. Something that's creatively using your energy is very important as well. Yeah, and having a partner to exchange sexual energy with, if that's a possibility, can also enhance and keep you balanced as well. Keep you both balanced. What if my girlfriend is a sex addict? How do I still withhold my retention and please her? You simply learn to have orgasms without ejaculating. Again, this is a very important aspect of sexual kung fu. It's not about refraining from sex at all. It's not about becoming celibate. You can if you want, but you learn to have sex without ejaculating, learn to control your ejaculation. Then you can have sex literally for hours if you want, not ejaculate, and be a master in the bedroom, basically. Do you think sexual energy can be used to heal ailments? Yeah, definitely. In fact, in ancient China, they used to have an entire, basically, branch of medical therapy. They call it medical sexology. Doctors would literally prescribe like certain sex positions to couples who had further certain ailments. Of course, an important part was that the man didn't ejaculate during it. So you can learn to bring the sexual energy into different areas of your body, learning to bring it to your organs, into the glands to enhance their function. Because again, sexual energy is almost like stem cells. It can bond to things and amplify their process, right? It's that reproductive energy. You can use it to reproduce your body, your cells. So definitely. Okay, so here's the question about the importance of grounding during semen retention. Why it isn't emphasized enough in the semen retention community. So I basically already answered that question, because grounding is a huge aspect of this, and it's not emphasized because just a lot of people, I don't think, know about it. Montauk Chia does actually really emphasize grounding, but I don't think he really framed it in the way that I was talking about. Yeah, grounding is essential. For everyone to be on the earth right now, you can handle a lot more stress, a lot more, negative emotions flying at you and things like that if you're grounded, because again, it's about being wired into that stable earth chi. It's so stabilizing. It enhances your physical body, benefits greatly. You're so much more healthy when you're connected to the earth's energy, because that's what our bodies are made of. Our bodies are literally made of the elements of the earth. So when we resonate with the earth, we resonate with that Schumann resonance, that 7.83 hertz, we are much, much healthier and vibrant. Okay. Question about the Angian method. This is something I've been promoting. It's a great exercise regimen for improving erections, improving blood flow in your penis. So the question is, with the Angian method, do you see results quickly, or is it a long-term process? Is it a long process before you have visible results? I think it really depends. It depends, many factors: how often you practice, how healthy your diet is, are you able to sleep and rest? I saw results pretty quickly, like within a couple of weeks, and it's only continued to improve. But it may take longer for you. Joe Rogan said semen retention can cause prostate cancer, and he recommends we nut at least 3 times a week. Yeah, that's kind of the standard medical thing, but I'm not convinced that there's any connection between semen retention and prostate cancer. there's so many other factors to that. The tests that they've shown were quite inconclusive. They didn't take so many other factors into account with this. And again, many of my teachers, one of my teachers said he went 10 years without ejaculating. The guy never had prostate issues. So I'm not convinced that there's necessarily any connection to semen retention and prostate cancer. There's so many ways to keep your prostate healthy and balanced, and if your only method to hopefully keep it healthy is ejaculating, then you're not really caring for your prostate. 50% of men have prostate issues at some point, and so clearly ejaculating frequently is not that effective, or effective at all at preventing prostate cancer. Hey, what's up, Will? My sexual kung fu brother from Canada. Hope you're doing well, Will. Do you know about the upcoming Great Conjunction? Yeah, I'm assuming you're talking about the December 21st great alignment that's happening. Yeah, very powerful time, kind of a portal, a gateway. So this is a very important time to be cultivating your energy, keep yourself balanced, harmonious, being focused on what you want, being focused on high vibrational things, love, harmony, joy, creativity, inspiration, instead of focusing on all the fear porn agenda. So. Do you think telekinesis, pyrokinesis, and levitation are abilities we possess? They're abilities that can be cultivated with practice, definitely. Okay, is pre-ejaculation fluid okay? Or I think that's what you're talking about. Guys ask me this a lot. Yeah, it's not an issue. The Cowper's fluid, the clear fluid that is secreted from the penis when you're aroused, it's not going to drain you any more than like blowing your nose would. It's not an issue. It's mostly just water and like a few little things versus semen, which is like loaded with minerals, vitamins, all kinds of things. So losing pre-ejaculate fluid is pretty unavoidable. And it's not an issue. Do you have somewhere I can watch you demonstrate the practices? I'm a beginner. I have some different practices here on my YouTube channel. I teach some basic sexual kung fu practices. I also teach the system in depth in my 6-week course, Multi-Orgasmic Man. How can one have fulfilled relationships without being physically attractive? Is this possible, you think? Yes, it's definitely possible. Physical attraction is only the very surface and shallow level, right? There's a lot more to attraction than that. Of course, our modern superficial world stresses physical attraction, but, cultivating your intelligence, your humor, working out your body, getting healthy and things like that will make you attractive. Don't be too obsessed about how you look. Okay, how to go from orgasm without ejaculation solo to being with a partner, a lot more at play with a partner. So I feel it will be much more difficult. Yeah, so the question is, how do you take this transition from, being able to have sexual control and non-ejaculatory orgasms by yourself and implement this with a partner? Obviously, there's a learning curve here. And this is why I always stress the importance of first training by yourself with your own sexual energy, because there's not all this added stimulation of a partner. So you have to really, master that first, and then you can start to play with it with a partner. And it really is just a matter of learning the techniques, really getting them down. You have to really be in control of your mind and your body during sex to control ejaculation. Definitely take my ejaculation control course. I teach some important things there, but again, it's practice, really. The more you practice and the better you get with it on your own, the better you'll be able to transition and bring that in with a partner. What's the most natural and easiest way to draw sexual energy throughout your body during sex? Simply relaxing and breathing, moving your awareness through your body, deep, relaxed breathing, relaxing your body, really like penetrating your awareness deep into your body, not just in your penis. But it becomes a lot easier when you have some foundations in creating the energetic wiring for the sexual energy to move upwards in your body, So that's why working at the microcosmic orbit and things like that is very important and grounding. No, I have not read the works of Samuel. I'm not sure how to say the last name. Sex Magic Ideas. I have not read that. Tips on semen retention, how to transmute the tension and pressure. Felt so intense, hormones controlling my mind. So it's very important to have a practice of drawing sexual energy upward in the body. As I say a lot, I don't recommend doing semen retention unless you have a way to transmute that energy directly, right? I teach some practices on my YouTube channel I think you'll find very helpful. Doing Qigong, which is internal energy practices, helps to open up channels and create more space for the sexual energy to move out of the genitals. Working with the microcosmic orbit and the testicle breathing practice, I have videos of those on my YouTube. Testicle breathing is the direct method to move the sexual energy out of the genitals. So it's about basically being able to move it out of your balls so you can express it in different ways than just lust. And of course, it takes some time to adjust to holding that higher charge. So don't be too obsessed in the beginning, just do what you can as far as keeping yourself balanced. I've been on semen retention for over a year, having non-ejaculatory orgasms and using the microcosmic orbit without clearing negative emotions and old patterns. Am I doing something wrong? No, you're not necessarily doing anything wrong, but it's good that you didn't have any issues. It's different for everyone. Maybe you don't have as much baggage as some people do. It really depends. But you're working with the microcosmic orbit, which can, naturally become a way to clear things in your body, basically. How to work on the pull of lust. You need to work with your heart center, work with your spirit, your crown, your spiritual center, and engage, balance these together, right? There's a disconnect from a lot of people, especially men, from their genitals to the rest of their body. This is how it was for me for a long time. It's like I was getting into spirituality, getting into yoga and meditation, having these, fantastic spiritual experiences, being like, oh, I'm one with the universe. But then it was like, oh, I need to watch some porn and jerk off. So there's this disconnect between my sexual energy and the rest of my body. So being able to work with your heart space, to open yourself to love and to wire that into your sexual center, right? Connect these centers so that your sexual energy can flow up and amplify that expression of love. And you merge those qualities of sexual desire and love energy together, and working with the brain center as well, the spiritual connection. It's a large part of the sexual kung fu work. So opening up the energy channels, creating a different pathway for the sexual energy to be expressed in upwards instead of only, this outward expression. And it will give you a completely different, quality to your sexual desire. How did I get into this field? Well, I was always fascinated, when I was around 19 years old, I had a powerful spiritual awakening. I had a Kundalini experience, completely changed who I was, completely changed the course of my life, and really spent many years trying to get back into the space of feeling at one with the universe, feeling like I had all the, esoteric wisdom just channeling into me, right? So I began seeking out, my spiritual path. I started practicing yoga, started practicing meditation, reading these ancient, Eastern traditions, texts and things like that. And I was still like, well, where does sexual energy fit into all this? I'm, like I said a little bit ago, I was having these spiritual experiences, but my sexual energy was still just this very animalistic expression. And I'd heard about Tantra. I'd heard about this conscious sexual union practices. And so, you know, I was seeking this work out, and it took me a long time to find good information. There's a lot of people, you know, there's not a lot of people teaching this stuff, and people who are teaching this stuff, some of it's good, some of it's, you know, not so good. I found the work of Montauk Chia, and I read Multi-Orgasmic Man, completely changed my life. You know, I wasn't really able to learn the techniques from the book, but it got me started, at least in understanding that there's at least more to this. I started seeking out teachers and saw how transformative this working with sexual energy is, because most people are slaves to their sexual impulses. And I became very passionate about teaching this work because I think it's one of the most important things that anyone can do is learn to integrate their sexual energy into, you know, a more harmonious expression. So that's how I got into doing this, basically. Are there any foods or herbs I can ingest to maintain, enhance, as well as protect my Dantian energy? So the Dantian energy, it's very much linked to your gene, you know, your kidney gene. I mean, the best thing to do is just have a regular practice where you're working with the Dantian, you know, sinking down into it, anchoring your mind and breath down into the Dantian, having that stillness practice down there. That's, you know, that's going to do much more for you than foods or herbs are. Make sure you're not scattering your energy too much during the day. But as far as, you know, herbal support, any kidney gene building herb is going to be helpful. Shou Wu formulations. I like dragon herb stuff. Their Shou Wu formulation is great. You know, their ant and essence, I think that's a great one. It's got that Polyrachis ant. Goji berries, Hisho Wu, Rehmannia, you know, these kinds of things. Any kidney yin jing formula is going to help support that Dantian energy. Yeah, deer antler is great as well. Been doing semen retention for 3 weeks and I got balls of gold now. It's great. They just glow, don't they? Will bad posture affect meditation practices? Yes, you definitely want to be able to align your spine, you know, because it's like, otherwise things are out of alignment. You know, the energy can't flow as well through a spine that's kind of got blockages in it. So it's why it's good to do, like, you know, physical building practices like yoga, you know, stretching, building your posture, your postural muscles is really important for your meditation practice. Okay, I've heard a conflicting thought. What is your opinion on how often a man should ejaculate, if at all? People on Reddit say not to ejaculate at all in the semen retention sub. So the thing is that there's a lot of, you know, there's a lot of different sources of information coming out about semen retention. And I would say by the most part, it's dominated by, we could say, kind of more obsessive types of people, kind of the like, you know, excess yang, false yang, like, you must never ejaculate again, never lose, you know. That's not my trip. I'm not about obsessing over it. For me, it really comes down to your focal point, right? The kinds of people who are like, the most important thing is going forever without ejaculating, right? For me, the most important thing is not going without ejaculating. The most important thing for me is cultivating my sexual energy and using that harmoniously, recycling it to the best of my ability, right? But for most people, for most guys, going forever without ejaculating is not beneficial, actually. If you go too long, your endocrine system starts to atrophy. It's really a use it or lose it situation, right? So most Taoist texts talk about having like a certain cycle of ejaculation for men. Minimum, I would say minimum going at least a week or two without ejaculating. You know, it really depends on your age, your energy levels, but unless you're doing like hardcore meditation, you know, energy work, internal alchemy practice to actually like really refine that raw gene that you're building up, then it really isn't going to benefit you to go any more than, you know, 2 to 3 months at the very most, probably. So personally, my sweet spot with retention is every 4 to 6 weeks, I ejaculate during sex with my partner. And that's, you know, it's a bit different in sex as well, because there's an exchange happening. Plus my practice has evolved to where I'm building up tremendous levels of genes. So I don't feel any depletion after that point. So that's kind of my take on it. The most important thing is listen to your body. Don't be too rigid. Don't be too obsessed. Just let things be a bit more natural, and you'll find your best path. What does a non-ejaculatory orgasm feel like? Well, there's many different types of these. Men can have many different orgasms, basically. The most common one is the dry genital orgasm, which is basically you like hit the point of no return, but then you like squeeze your pelvic floor muscles or like relax completely and override the ejaculation response. This is similar to the feeling of an ejaculatory orgasm. It's usually a bit weaker. Again, it's stuck, it's in your genital area. This is the most common non-ejaculatory orgasm that people are talking about, but for me, I don't really prefer this. It's pretty weak. I don't get that much from it. It's still kind of a peak orgasm. It's very short and kind of messes with your chemistry. The more common non-ejaculatory orgasm that I'm talking about is the full body kind of energetic orgasm. This is a very different experience than an ejaculatory orgasm. This is like, it's subtle in the beginning. It's the valley orgasm that, a lot of people talk about. It's more of a state that you're in. And for me, it starts out as like this, I'm aroused, I'm with my partner or whatever, I'm feeling connection. For me, it's like this expansiveness. My consciousness becomes a bit altered. I usually start to feel this like butterfly feeling in my stomach. And often I feel like the sexual energy is starting to like rush up my spine. Get these like amazing sensations in my spine. And, it varies in intensity. Sometimes that's it, which, alone is pretty awesome. It can last for a while, but, some of the most intense ones I've had were like, comparable to like, psychedelic experiences. I've done magic mushrooms and things like that in my past. So I know what this is like, right? And it's very comparable to that. You're in this like altered state of expansion. My whole body's like pulsating, very, very orgasmic. And sometimes it feels like I'm like ejaculating on my brain, like I'm expanding out into the universe, and, time and space are altered. You're open to like, very ethereal, mystical experiences. It's hard to put into words. It's pretty phenomenal though. And with my partner, there's often a very, very powerful feeling of connection between us. Men can also have prostate orgasms, like orgasms from prostate stimulation alone. This takes a bit of rewiring, but that's like some of the most intense experiences a man can have. What are signs that it is time for your body to release your accumulation of semen? I would say if you're feeling like, if you don't feel good anymore, like if you just feel angry, irritable, stuck, you can't stop thinking about sex, then these are some signs that maybe it's time for you to, release. It's the best with a partner. Like personally, I wouldn't ejaculate outside of, having sex probably, but yeah, basically if it's like, you just feel like you have too much energy, you build up to a point where it's like you have insomnia, your heart's pounding, things like that, it could be a sign. Oh, I've got 2 minutes left on my Instagram feed. I forgot that they limit the time now. So I'm going to wrap it up here in a little bit. I just had a wet dream last night. Is it a setback for my journey? I answered this before, but don't worry about it. Don't obsess over it. Do you feel different? Do you feel good? Then, don't worry about it. Okay, the seasons in ejaculating. This is a good point. So the Taoists talk about, and it's definitely true in my experience as well, that you can ejaculate at different intervals based on the seasons, right? Generally in the cold months, you want to avoid ejaculation. Like in the winter, I'll go for much longer periods of time without ejaculating. Versus the spring and summer, there's much, much more energy available to you. The earth, the chi of the earth is being pulled up to the surface by the sun. Everything's growing, everything's expanding. You'll notice you feel a lot more horny in the spring than in the winter. So you can usually ejaculate more frequently if you really want to in the spring and the summer without losing as much energy. And just in general, a rule of thumb is like, if you ejaculate and you feel like really wiped out, fatigued the next day, then you should go longer without ejaculating. Recently went 55 days and the last few days was miserable. Even with meditating, I released and honestly made me feel better. So yeah, so here's the thing is like everything's about balance, even semen retention. Ejaculating every day is not good. It's going to deplete you. But overly obsessing about I can never ever ejaculate to the point that you're like withholding out of this kind of lack mindset, like no, there's not enough. I can't let this go. That can be very detrimental as well. That's how you get into energy stagnation. So it's really about finding that balance between withholding and occasionally having a conscious ejaculation. Okay, I'm about to lose my Instagram feed. Thanks for joining me, guys. YouTube, I'll answer a couple more questions. Where do I get the excuse me? Where do I get the healthy foods and snacks I eat, and are they expensive? It depends. I do a lot of my shopping at local stores here, health food stores. And I get some things on Amazon or online that I can't find in those stores. Yes, it is more expensive to eat healthy, organic superfoods, but it really comes down to, do you want to spend a bit more money on groceries to have more energy, more vitality, more health now? Or do you want to, maybe pay hospital bills in the future, right? If you're eating junk food. So, prioritizing your health is a good investment. Can your women benefit from a facial? I'm assuming you're talking about semen on the face. One of my teachers, Minka DeVos, says it's the best thing a woman can do for her skin is to rub a man's semen into it. So yeah, totally. There's so many nutrients, so much life force in that. Okay, I made a video about supplements after ejaculating. If there was one I would say is most important, what would that be? Goji berries, hands down the best. They're really simple. It's just berries. You eat them like a snack. They're a food. They're superfood loaded with zinc and a lot of other minerals. Really powerful gene tonic. They're a bit pricey, but again, you get what you pay for. Goji berries are my number one. Also, black sesame seeds. All right, we'll put two here. Black sesame seeds are amazing. They're loaded with minerals. They've got tons of copper, selenium, zinc, magnesium, manganese, all kinds of things. So goji berries and black sesame seeds, number one gene building food, and black sesame seeds are pretty inexpensive. All right, guys, thanks for joining me. Been great hanging out with you guys. Hope you all have a good rest of your week, a good weekend, and I will see you back here next week. Take care, guys.